You see, there was a time when actions had weight because they stayed. You said something and it followed you. You chose a path and it held you. You became known for something and that knowing added into structure. And you see, reputation was not just a profile, it was a sediment. It formed slowly and it resisted revision. Once it is defined, that is what you are. Now, most things can be edited. You can delete the post, you can archive the photo, you can rewrite the bio, you can pivot the narrative. You can say that version of me no longer exists. And technically, you would be correct. So essentially, we're living inside systems that are built on reversibility. And if you think about it, reversibility changes how people behave. Not loudly, but quietly. You see it in how easily opinions that are held and dropped. You see it in the positions that are tested now, like outfits. You see it in convictions that are becoming provisional. Everything carries an invincible asterisk for now. This is not because people have become weaker. That's not what's going on. It is because the environment has removed frictions. And think about it. When actions are permanent, you move differently. You hesitate, you consider. So you absorb the cost before you act. But when actions are reversible, the cost moves into the future. And the future, in digital systems is endlessly negotiable. You can always clarify later. You can always explain. You can always reframe. You can always edit. You can always recalibrate. The presence of an undo button reshapes the psychology of the original decision. You begin to act in drafts, ever composing. This has created a strange condition where identity feels iterative. If you think about it, you're no longer a fixed point through time. You're a version number. You're version 1.2, version 3.7, version 10.0. Keep it going. Nothing fully sticks. While this feels like freedom, and in many ways it is, people can leave roles that once trapped them. They can rebuild after public mistakes. They can escape definitions that were once imposed on them too early. These are good things. The ability to revise yourself. This is one of the quiet messes of the modern systems. But while all of that is good, something else disappears at the same time when you think about it. Because when nothing sticks, nothing anchors. You see it in the way commitments are being made lately. Carefully worded, loosely held. Exit paths has been preserved in advance. Even belief begins to carry optionality. People agree without fully attaching. They participate without fully investing, and they remain slightly detached from their own positions. This is not out of dishonesty, it is out of adaptation. Why fully fuse yourself to something when you may need to unfuse later? Because clearly, the system rewards flexibility, and this is most visible in digital reputation. There was a time when reputation lived in human memory. It was carried by people, not servers. It moved through conversations. It resisted sudden change because it required collective revision. Now, reputation lives in databases. It can be managed. It can be wiped. It can be cleaned. It can be optimized. And search results can be buried. Images can be replaced. Timelines can be curated. Memory has become editable. And when memory becomes editable, consequences becomes unstable. Now, this changes how risk feels, because risk used to imply potential loss that could not be undone. Now, risk often implies temporary disruption, something to manage, something to outlast, something that will scroll away. Time itself has been compressed into a feed. Yesterday can be replaced by today, even before it fully settles. This creates a culture of continuous present tense. You are always as good as your latest update. There is no final form. I believe this affects how people build. When permanence weakens, durability becomes a choice rather than an assumption. You see it in architecture. You see it in products that you buy. You see it in the tools that you use. Temporary installations replace permanent structures. You see it even in the quality of work. Projects replace careers. You see it in relationships, in fact. Everything becomes renegotiable. Even the self becomes a workspace rather than a foundation. But think about it. Humans still look for signals of solidity. I tell you this for free. They still look for people who do not constantly revise themselves. People whose positions hold long enough to generate trust. People who absorb the cost of consistency. Because now in this world, consistency has become expensive again. In a reversible world, the person who does not reverse stands out. You now matter, your words carry weight because they can trust you. Not because they cannot change, not because you cannot change, but because they know that you do not change easily. This is not stubbornness, it is structural integrity. Systems cannot provide this. Systems are designed for flexibility. They optimize for adaptation. They allow for infinite revision because revision increases engagement. A stable identity does not generate activity. A shifting identity does. So stability has moved from default to decision. You now have to choose what you will not edit. It's important. You have to decide which parts of yourselves are not in draft. This is where consequence returns, not as punishment, but as authorship. And when you accept that some actions will remain attached to you, your behavior changes. You move with care. You speak with more intention. You build with longer horizons in mind. Now, you begin to live in ways that assume memory, because in this tomorrow and in this future that we're heading to, I don't think it will be shaped by people who can revise endlessly. It will be shaped by people who decide what remains. Because permanence, once lost as a constraint, becomes valuable now as a signal. Anyone can pivot, but not everyone can stand. And in a world where everything can be undone, the rarest thing is something that stays solid. So I pose to you, how are you staying solid?